So this is a different type of video style. It's literally me just talking and thinking out loud. If this is something that resonates, I'll continue to do them. If they don't, then we will let them be. But the world has been communicating with me in such an interesting way, and I keep thinking about what keeps coming up. And what keeps coming up is this question of what do you keep coming back to? Literally, it first came up in a book that I was reading, Open Water. I've now finished it. It was a really great read, so I would definitely encourage you to open up the book and let me know what you think about it. But it first came up in Open Water, where he talks about how he doesn't like to ask people what is their favorite thing. He instead asks them, right, what do they keep coming back to? Which, when I first heard the question, I was like, that is something that's so interesting. And it's also something that I started posing to people around me instead of asking them, oh, what's been your favorite book or your favorite podcast or what's your favorite show? It's literally been like, what's something that you just keep coming back to? Because there is something that is so rich, right, in you coming back to something, because that means it means something. It means that it does something for you, whether it means that it makes you smile, whether it means that it makes you think more deeply, whether that means it makes you laugh, whether that means it just makes you feel comfortable. Like, what is this thing doing for you that you can come back to it over and over and over again? I thought about Lauryn Hill recently, specifically her tribute at the Grammys, and of course honoring D'Angelo and his life. And it was interesting because I had posed a question, right? I was hosting a group call. So I posed a question to them, what is something you keep coming back to? And I'm on the call, so I'm going to answer. And I tell them that my coming back to is the Grammys. And then I thought deeper about it and how I continue to come back to Lauryn Hill. Everyone says Lauryn Hill only gave us one album. For me, MTV Unplugged is an album, okay? It's an album. But I think about Lauryn Hill and I think about how she's giving us one, if you know, you know, 2 albums. And how that one album, or those 2 albums, depending on who you are, is something that people continue to come back to. And it's something that we've continued to come back to for more than a decade now. And it is the brilliance of those 16 songs that people continue to love on and continue to see themselves in and continue to move to and feel to. And then I watched Emma Greed's Aspire podcast and the episode with Issa Rae. And you know what Issa Rae talks about? Issa Rae talks about how she wants to make stuff that people come back to. And she talks about how we've been over consuming. She's like, yeah, I've watched a video, but I don't know the last time I can't tell you what that video was about. And she's like, I don't know the last time that I watched something or read something that really made me feel something. And I think we're in a time, right, where everyone is talking about this attention media. And I even find myself in it, right? And I'm like, what can I do that makes people come back to what I am talking about? And what can I create that makes people come back to it? Because I don't want to be one of those people who is just creating for the sake of saying that I'm creating. Every video should have a purpose behind it. Every video should have an intention around it. But I even think about the way that we consume information and how we don't consume information with the same intent. And because we have access literally at the tips of our fingers, it can feel so easy to just consume the information and not have to do any work for that information because you know that it's going to be given to you. I think about AI and how you can get an answer like that, but also what does that do to us in terms of appreciating the art and appreciating the creativity that it takes for us to get what it is that we have gotten. I'm also reading, right, another book that's on the deck is Braiding Sweetgrass. And in Braiding Sweetgrass, she talks about how she learned how to make these baskets out of black ash, which is a tree, and how so many times she's gone to classes where you are making baskets and you're just given all the materials to you. But there is something that happens, there's a process that happens to even getting those materials, and how she has done that process of actually making black ash baskets and what that takes and the hard work that goes into it, and how we appreciate much more when we understand the work that has been done to get there. And so if something is worth having, or if something is worth consuming, then it's also worth us consuming it with intention. And specifically, she talks about how the person who taught her how to make baskets tells her that there is a back end to everything, right? This paper that I am writing on right now, a tree gave its life for me to write on this paper. And so I need to put words on this paper that is worth a life being given for. And so I just think about all these concepts that are happening in real time and how things are coming up for me. And I specifically think about just what Issa Rae is saying about how do we create things that people come back to, and how we have to be more mindful about that. I think about Beyonce, and I think about what she's doing about this 3 acts, and I remember her even talking about how, yeah, people aren't going to get music back to back to back to back from me because I want them to appreciate what it is that they are getting now. So recently, the way that she's been doing this 3 act trilogy, right, is she will put out music and you enjoy the album and you love on the album. And then she's going to go on tour where you continue to love on this album. You continue to feel this album. You continue to really interact, right, with this album and be in conversation with the conversations that she wants us to have. And that's what she's doing, right? She's expanding the thinking. She's expanding the feeling. Renaissance was all about being free, and it was about ballroom culture, and it was about being in community and really understanding the freedom behind it. And then you had Cowboy Carter, that was really the story about reclaiming, and really there's a sense of reclamation in all of them. I think right, I think with everything that she's doing, they're having a conversation with each other even as we get prepared for whatever this next album is. But there's an appreciation for the work that she has been doing. I even think about Sinners and the moment that people are having with Sinners, because it's coming at a time where I do feel like the movies are just coming out and they're nothing fresh, they're nothing new, they're not ideas that we are sitting on. And I when I think about Beyonce, and then I also think about Sinners, I think about how they're both meeting this moment of honoring history while also creating the future and meeting us in the present. And it's just a very interesting conversation, but it's something that allows us to continue to come back to both of these pieces of art. Even though they're totally different, they're allowing us to have a very similar conversation, and there's definitely a conversation that could happen in between the both of them. I won't go too deep on it because that's not the purpose of this video. It's not the purpose of me to think out loud about that. But that's the question that I ask for you is, how can you start to engage with art, engage with life with intention, number one? Number two, how can you create with intention? Because right now we're in this cycle of you just got to get it out. Because if you don't, somebody's attention will go somewhere else. And so how can you calm your body, calm your mind, calm your spirit, and really be present, whether you are receiving or whether you are giving? And I think through that intentionality, you can start to create worlds and also fully flesh out ideas. There's something about not being able to fully flesh out an idea that I'm also seeing happening as part of the conversation. But that's also right. It goes back to you not having to do the work to truly understand the process. And I think what's going to happen over time is that we're going to lose recipes. And we're going to lose recipes because the real act is in the doing. The real act is in the learning. The real act is in figuring it out. And I didn't quite understand that, but my mother is an educator, and I also work with students. And I see, right, that they just want the answers to be given to them. Which made me go back to, right, what Issa Rae was saying in her conversation with Emma about, hey, I need people who not only have the big, bright ideas, I need people who can execute them. I need people who not only understand the problems, I need people who can bring forth the solutions. Funny, this is my strength and my weakness. I will hold out. I'm going to do everything that I can to find the answer on my own. that's the way that I was raised. Like, you better figure some stuff out before you come to me. I'm not handing you anything. And I think about how things have gotten almost easier in access. Not everything, but some things in terms of knowledge and information. And so what do I mean by that? Back then, let's just go with Generation X, right? When Generation X needed answers, they were looking up whatever information they needed in the encyclopedia. When millennials were looking for answers, they had the encyclopedia, but they also then started to use information in the library, and even got to, get into being able to work on that computer. When I was growing up, I had to look it up in books, and then also the computer, right? Google was a thing. And now you can literally get the answer to anything. But the magic happens in the figuring it out. And it means more when you figure it out, because it's like, oh, I took this idea and I really made it my own. Or I didn't know this answer and I really did the work to figure it out. And I think there is something that is foundationally important about that. And like I said, the recipes are going to be messed up because we never did the figuring it out. And so as much as you might want to take the easy way out, there is a value and a superpower that is built when you are literally working on the ground and using your critical thinking skills and your analysis skills and all that at the same time to truly figure it out. So I literally say all of that to say the question that I pose to you is, what do you keep coming back to? And as you think about what it is that you keep coming back to, I want you to do a deep dive on that artist, on that author, on the director, on the creator, on the scientist, on whoever played a role in creating what it is that you keep coming back to. And I want you to look at their work. I want you to look at how much work they produced over their life. I want you to look at interviews, if you can, about them and what it meant to produce work. I want you to think about the different themes that they talk about within their work, and also the research that they did on the back end for this work to even happen. What pieces of the puzzle had to come together for them to give you that final result? Because it didn't happen overnight. And so really research them and look at them and really allow yourself to not only receive with intention, but to also give with intention. Until next time, I'm Imani Adia, and be limitless.